Hey everyone. I recently posted a picture of this little notebook that I had made, and I made quite a few of these for a craft show. And someone asked if I'd show how I did it. Um, I had a craft show coming up, like I said, and I needed some inexpensive, quick, easy things to, just table fillers and something inexpensive to sell, smaller items. I had a whole stash of scrapbook papers. Not a scrapper myself, but I had a friend who went through her stash and had given me a pile of beautiful papers and ribbons and stickers and all kinds of goodies. So I decided that what I would do is make these little books just with what I had. So I'm going to show you how I did that. The first thing you need to do is find you a piece of paper. This is the two-sided, I think, best for what we're going to do. And this is the kind of heavier, not cardstock, but heavier scrapbook paper. You could use the thinner for the cover, but it wouldn't be as sturdy. Whatever you have. This whole project is use what you have. If you want to put some little pockets and tuck spots in it, go through your scraps and your papers and find some coordinating colors. And for my plain pages, I use plain, inexpensive white copy paper, 6 sheets of that. And I also used floss. You can use whatever, twine, wax thread, wax linen, anything you have, yarn. Just remember that whatever that you're going to be sewing through it, so you need to make your holes accordingly to handle whatever kind of thread you use. And very thin thread will probably cut the paper. Okay, so anyway, I have a stash of floss that I had since I did counted cross stitch many years ago. I dug it out recently and started using it in projects. So that's basically what you need. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my 12 by 12 piece of paper at 6 inches. Now, if you have a paper that is directional, this isn't. This is just, any way will work. But if you have something like, take this little guy, this little band fella, make sure you cut your paper where it'll be facing the right direction. If you cut it, like say if we'd have cut him at this, then he would be sideways, if that makes sense. So I found usually that if it's something that needs to be one directional like this, if I put it in sideways with the top, facing left or right, whichever, and then I cut it, then it works out right. Then when you fold it, he's not laying on his side or on his head or whatever. So, like I said, I'm going to cut this. And I apologize if my focus is going in and out. It seems like my phone wants to play tricks with me today. I'm going to cut that at 6 inches, and that gives me 2 6-inch by 12-inch pieces. Then I'm going to turn it around here and line it up, and I'm going to score it. After I get my glasses, I'm going to score it at 6 inches. This is slow so I stay in the groove. Both pieces at 6 inches. Score them both at 6 inches. Okay. I'm not used to doing instructional videos, so you guys will have to just bear with me. Alright, before I do anything else, I'm going to cut, while I've got my trimmer out, I want to cut this paper. Like I said, this is a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm going to cut it at 5.5 inches. Make sure it's all lined up really well, really snug with each other, and cut it at 5.5. Now it does make a little waste, but honestly I'll probably use that in something else. I don't throw much away at all. If you could see my room here that I'm working in, you'd agree. But now I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it. I'm not going to worry about scoring it. I'm just going to fold it so that it's as straight as I can get it, the corners. And you'll notice that it has a little stair-step effect where I folded it, but that's not going to matter. We're going to take care of that in a minute. And we'll push down in the center and fold, rub it out to both ends, and then we'll use a bone folder or some kind of tool, use a pen, anything, to rub that down really well. Okay? Now, while I'm doing this, I'm also going to fold my 2 covers at the score line that I made. Try to line up your corners as best you can, but we're going to do something that will take care of that if it's not lined up. Okay, and this one. Now, like I said, you end up with this little stair-step effect. And the reason I cut this at 5.5 instead of at 6 is I want a little bit of leeway in here when I put it in the book. I want to kind of center it in there and have little spaces around. I just like it better that way. Plus, it's not quite as hard to line up. So like I said, we need to do some trimming. Now, that you need to do, I have a bigger trimmer here that I'm going to use, but what you can do is use on a cutting mat, of course, craft knife. Gosh, haven't had enough coffee apparently. And just, trim the edges down that way and make sure they're all even. I'm going to use this bigger trimmer that I have. I call this my Big Mama trimmer. And I find it's easier to get the paper to lay where I want to if I put a ruler. Sometimes I use this one. If I have room, I use this one. Something, just anything you've got that will hold that flat for you. And I'm going to put that right along the edge, and I bet I'm out of range here. Let's see. I'm going to put that right along the edge, and I'm going to slowly trim just that whole, see, just that much. And that makes the edge nice and even. And I've noticed that this edge is a little off. I'm just going to go ahead and trim all 3 edges here while I've got this one out. And try to get them as even as I can. It's not going to matter that much. And honestly, once you get the threading in there, or once you sew it in. So this is the first instructional video I've ever done, and apparently I can't work and talk at the same time. Okay, so there's that. Now at this point you want to decide whether or not you want to do anything decorative or whatever to your pages. Corners or the edges of your pages. Let's see. I'm going to trim. That's really rough. It's been knocked around a little. I'm actually going to trim. I'm going to use this as the inside page, and I think I'm going to trim a little off all the edges of this because, like I said, it's a little rough, and it doesn't matter if it's the inside. It doesn't hurt to have it a little smaller. So as you can tell, this is not a precise everything has to be just so kind of project. This is just kind of a little hit and miss book that just throw together. Okay. So, yeah, that's better. Now at this point you want to decide if you want to do, like on some of the books, I've done corner punches. On some of them, don't know which ones. I did some tabs. I also have done die cut some edges. Now there's another one with the corner punch, and the paper's cut a little smaller. If you want to hang around to the end of the video or skip forward to the end of the video, I'll show you some of these that I've done. There I did a border punch on the edges. Anyway, at this point is when you want to decide if you want to do that. Now, I'll keep this fairly simple. since it has flowers, now which one was my inside? This one was because it's smaller. I'm going to use this corner punch. This is a Paper Studio corner punch. And I apologize that I can't tell you what this paper is or who does it, because, like I said, it was paper, almost all of these. As a matter of fact, I think all of them were papers that were given to me in this stash that my friend gave me. And I don't even know if she would remember. But anyway, I'm going to do the insides of my this page with this corner punch. And it doesn't show up as well as I hoped on the daisy side, but wait till I turn it over and you see the other side. I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, see? And it just adds a little something. And then I'm going to use a corner punch, or this is my crocodile corner chomper. Chomp. And I'm going to round all my corners. I think it looks better. Just like that little more finished look. And I'm rounded. I'm using the 1/2 inch side. If you've got a little corner rounder punch would be fine. Or if you just want to take your scissors and snip off the corners, or leave them. Whatever you want. Whatever you think would look best for you. Okay? So, a place to put that. And, oops, I think I want to do the front cover too. I'm going to chomp those off too. Okay, so now here comes we're going to put this together now. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I have 6 sheets here. So I'm going to take 3 sheets, put them on the inside. And then 3 more sheets and put them on the outside. And I can't believe this, where I trimmed that off. I trimmed it almost exactly. I didn't think about that, as a matter of fact, but pretty close. Now, this to me is probably the most difficult part coming up. Now let's put this in, you know, and kind of center it here. Now we need to put marker holes where we're going to punch in for the sewing. Again, try to get it as even, and that piece of paper is crooked. Oh well. Okay, I'm going to clamp these down. Use a binder clip to clamp them together. And I'm going to use my center marker, my centering marker, and I'm going to find the center of this, which is at about 2 3/4 inches in. If you don't have one of these centering markers, just take for these measurements that I've used, the 5 1/2, then center is going to be 2 3/4. Okay, so we're going to mark that 2 3/4. And I want 4 holes. Most of these actually I used 5 for a reason, but for this one, for simplicity, we're going to use 4 holes. And let's see, there's my center, so I'm going to come a 1/2 inch out from my center and make a mark, and a 1/2 inch out from my center and make a mark. Then I'm going to come 1.5 inches, which is, I want my marks 1 inch apart, in other words. And at 1.5 inches on this side, I make a mark. Now let me show you. Okay, so see, if you have your center mark at 2 3/4, you're going to do, you want a 1/2 inch on either side, and then 1 inch from that. And what you end up with is 4 marks 1 inch apart. Now here's another part that you can do 2 different ways. We're going to punch this. One way to do it, and I'm going to start out with this way, is to take a book. This is a book I bought at the Dollar General, with the intentions of taking it apart, and it actually has come in pretty handy for punching, take just a little cheap, something sharp. It doesn't matter what, pokey tool or an awl or something pointy and sharp, and lay your book in with the fold down in the fold of the book and punch. 2, 3, 4. Now, there's another way you can do this, and that is to use some kind of a hole punch. This is a crocodile. We Are Memory Keepers. I forgot what the name of this is. Big Bite, I think. And you can punch the holes with that. Now that's what I'm going to do, and I'll tell you why. When I've done these with just the awl, I've gone back and pushed the holes back through to keep this little raggedy edge from showing outside. But what I found is if you do it with an awl, the pages stay in tighter. If I do it with the punch, they tend to be a little looser. See how this has kind of got some give to it? I don't know. It depends on what you want to do. But I think I am going to go ahead and punch these just to. So I'm going to center it up right on my marks. One reason I want to punch this is because it'll be easier for you to see where I'm sewing. Now I'm pretty sure this has a name. This stitching has a name, and I'm not real sure. It's a pamphlet stitch, a variation, probably a mixture of. See, I've seen it called, I think, a saddle stitch that's similar to a pamphlet stitch, but I don't think I'm hitting either one of them right. I think it's just my own combination. So you want a needle with an eye that will hold whatever thread you're using. And I usually go about 2 times the width of the book. In other words, I'm going to take my thread, and there's 1 time, and I'm going to measure it out 2 times. That's a little too much, but that's what I do just to give myself some extra. And we'll thread it through the needle. That should be fun to watch. Hey, I did it first time, can't believe it. Now, I'm going to start on the inside on the second hole. I'm going to put my needle and thread down through there, pull it through. You can tie a knot here if you'd like, but you need to leave a tail so you can finish it off later. So I just leave it like this. I have before taken a piece of washi tape and just taped it down, but we'll just leave it like that for now. You're going to turn your book over, and you're going to come up here to the first hole, and you're going to go back down through. Okay? You're going to pull it tight. You probably will have to go back and tighten this up when you get closer to the end. But now, for that reason that you're probably going to end up having to tighten it up, try to keep, when you put these back through, try to look and not split your threads or your yarn or whatever, you know, like in other words, when you put this through, try not to sew through your thread. That's another way these larger holes help. Okay, now go through there, same hole we come up and went down through the beginning. We'll flip it over, and I'm going to come down here to the third hole from the top, or this second from the bottom, that confuses you, whoops. And I'm going to put that through there. Now see, you've got 2 stitches on the outside. Come back to the inside, go down here to this last hole, sew it through. Back around here to the front, the outside. Go back up here to this third hole. And try not to sew through the thread, which I think I might have. No, okay. Pull it through and pull it snug. At this point, if you need to, snug it up if you have some loose parts or whatever. come inside and tie it in a knot. As snugly as you can. Okay, and then if you want to trim this off, leave it as a bookmark, put a little charm on whatever. Now that's it, actually, for the basic book. That's it. You know, you've got just this neat little book. Now I'm going to show you, like I said, if you want to put tuck spots here and there, you know, maybe put something here and then make you a little tag with some coordinating paper and put in there. But basically this is the bare bones book finished. Now let me show you some of the things that I've done with some of the other books. Okay, this one I probably did more. Now, with most of these, I did 5 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I did a split. See, not on this one. Some of them I did. Some of them I left a long tail on the outside. I started, instead of starting from the inside, I started on the outside and I left a long tail so that it could be brought around and tied to tie them shut. Okay, so let's see, yeah, that's right side up. So see, some of the books I made tabs for. This is an embossed pocket that I made and just punched some little corner punches. You know, just the tags, decorations. Let's see, this one I left the long string to tie, and it has 2 different sizes of tabs and a die cut pocket. Let's see. They didn't put a lot of decoration in this one because it had this glittery cardstock in it that went with that. That's actually coordinated with this, so. And just did some pockets and tags. That's a tuck spot or pocket made out of tags. And a label. This is the only one I did any inking in, and for some reason it just, I felt like it needed it. So some of the, see, it had this coordinating paper with it. Some kind of amoebas. I think it reminds me of a beachy theme. So, and there's that one, and some of them I left like this one. I like the edges of. So when I put I didn't trim the inside cover, the inside down. I also used a cream color paper and didn't use anything else. I really like this paper. I like the back of it and this was one sheet. You know, this was one sheet cut in half. Yeah. That one I didn't quite. I think you could probably tie it if you wanted to. And this I liked when I was putting it together. When I had it laid out, these edges were sticking out. So what I ended up doing was going in and trimming them like 1/4 of an inch, so that those inside edges would show. And this one has some pockets and tags. Okay, yeah, and on the front and back cover. And this one also. And it had some, I actually used 3 different kinds of paper in this one. I used 3 different kinds of paper and ended up with like, you know, 2 books made just like this or whatever. And some tags. And this one, I had one that I sold that said, I love words. And it had all kinds of letters and words on the front, and it had this same kind of thing. Let's see. Then this one also I left some of the pages longer so you can kind of see see the edges of the paper. I'm sorry, I get distracted so easily. And the furnace just came on, so if you hear that running, I apologize too. Anyway, that just kind of shows you all the different ways you can take this plain little book, dress it up if you want. If you don't want, don't. And that's how I did that. And thank you for watching.